Hey guys, what's up? Nick here once again. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than my normal content because as you can see, I'm showing my face, which I normally don't do, but I think it's for a good special occasion because I want to get my points across after having my Steam Deck OLED edition for over a year. So let's get right into it. So in this video, I'm going to try to get across 5 major points that I was able to write down for the Steam Deck and why I think you should check it out and give it a chance if you haven't already. You might be watching this video because either A, you already are a subscriber to my channel and you just want to check it out. First of all, thank you. Hope you're doing good. But second of all, maybe you're looking this up because you're either looking to buy a Steam Deck, maybe you, I don't know, have some extra money laying around, you just haven't bought it when they came out, when they were popular, or you're choosing between maybe like the Switch 2, for instance, that just came out, or a Steam Deck. One thing I want to get out right off the rip is it's not going to be a video, Switch 2 versus Steam Deck. I don't have a Switch 2. I'm also not a huge Nintendo fan, and I don't think it'd be fair for me to sit here and be like, yeah, buy the Steam Deck, it's way better, because I obviously can't say for sure. Because in the end, it's just going to come down to personal preference on which system you rather play your games on or what games you have for each system. So if you're a Nintendo guy and you have a lot of, I don't know, Mario games and Zelda games and Pokemon, and you're really into that stuff, the Switch 2 is probably going to be more for you. If you don't really care much about Nintendo products and you're more just about PC gaming, or maybe you just like anything else, the Steam Deck is going to be probably the better fit for you. But either way, I'm going to have my 5 points we're going to get through in this video, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll be able to make an informed decision on if you should check one out for yourself. So starting out at number 1 is the screen. So that's in the name, the OLED edition of the Steam Deck. It's a beautiful 7.4-inch 1280 by 800 HDR OLED. What does that really mean? Well, essentially, yes, it's not 1080p. It's a little bit lower than that, but it is a higher resolution than the original LCD model of the Steam Deck. And it is a pretty big difference. I mean, just in person, when you have this in your hands, the screen is gorgeous. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's not 1080p. The Switch 2 is 1080p. It's much better. And in a lot of ways, yeah, 1080p is going to be a higher resolution. It's going to be higher pixel density. It's going to look a little crisper. But I'm going to be honest with you. With somebody who's owned and used 1080p displays in mobile fashions like this, going to a 1280 by 800, I don't really notice much of a difference at all. I mean, the human eye is pretty impressive for seeing this kind of stuff. But once you get to a certain resolution, especially on smaller displays like this, it's pretty much impossible to see a difference unless you have them side by side and you're nitpicking and looking for specific differences. But I can tell you straight up, like everyday use, game to game, this is a gorgeous display, and the OLED really makes the colors pop, mainly because of that really rich blackness you get with OLED displays. It's just, yeah, it's a great looking display, and anything and everything looks amazing on it, from games to videos to you name it. Doesn't matter what you're looking at on here, it's going to look amazing. And it is touchscreen as well. I don't remember if the Switch is touchscreen. They might be. Still, I don't remember. But yeah, it is a touchscreen display as well on the Steam Deck. So if you want, for certain games, you can use touch input, or for the on-screen keyboard, you can use touch input, and it works relatively well. I've had no issues or qualms with it being a touch display or with the display at all. Another thing too, really quick, is the speakers. The speaker quality is insane. It's only 2 built-in speakers that are thankfully front-facing. A lot of these handheld PC gaming systems, for some reason, put the speakers on the top or on the bottom, which is okay in most situations, but it really is nice they were able to make them front-facing, so you see them at all times, and the sound waves are coming right at your face, as they should be. So yeah, the sound quality is insane. They're super loud. I can't really think of a situation where I felt I needed a headset or to connect these with the 3.5mm headphone jack on the top there. Yes, you can use these with Bluetooth, which is awesome, or with the headphone jack, but the speakers built in are more than capable of getting the job done, and they even give off a little bit of a stereo surround sound kind of feel, if that makes sense. It really doesn't, but in person, you will notice what I'm talking about. And if you own a Steam Deck, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It is a surreal experience. The speakers are just next level. My second point, and probably the most important thing, is the amount of games you can play on a Steam Deck. You have literally the entire library of Steam that you can play in the palm of your hand. What's more to like? A lot of people will make the assumption, oh, well, 90% of the games aren't going to work because it's a handheld system. No. I would argue 90% of the library does work on a Steam Deck, but sometimes it's going to take a little bit of tinkering. They do have a built-in system, which is really cool, where you can see if something is verified with a little green check mark, but sometimes they'll have a little yellow check mark or a gray check mark. And what that essentially means is they're either verified to not be working or they just haven't been verified at all, just because they haven't had somebody go in and specifically make sure this works all the way through. And that's going to happen more times than not than when you get verified titles. The only ones that come out the gate verified are going to be AAA titles or ones where they specifically make a Steam Deck option in the settings of the game, which is really cool. And more games are rolling out with these updates now that it's been over 2 years with the original Steam Deck on the market. And you love to see it. It's super cool that these developers of older titles, even newer titles, are still coming out with new updates for the Steam Deck to run better and more efficiently without the user having to tinker around and mess around with settings. So as somebody who was an early adopter of the first LCD Steam Deck, it was really kind of annoying having to go into every single game and tinker around for hours. I'm not even exaggerating, trying to get the games to run as well as they should. And yes, you could get it to work with time and patience, but a lot of people didn't have that patience, especially with a system that was getting marketed as a portable gaming console. When you hear the word console, you kind of expect it to work like a console, like a PlayStation or an Xbox. You boot it up, you click your game, you're good to go. That was not the case with the Steam Deck when it first launched. But fast forward 2 years, and now with a whole new model of the OLED, it is an entirely better and different experience. This is genuinely more of a console than anything. We'll get more into that in a little bit. But in terms of games, I really haven't had an issue with any games on my library that did not work or could get working with a little bit of patience and tinkering on the Steam Deck. The only situation where I found issues with games that did not work are ones that specifically need Windows to run properly. A good example for a while was GTA 5. It needed Windows to launch the Rockstar launcher to get the game to even boot up. Thankfully, there are workarounds for games like GTA 5 that there's tons of tutorials out there to get it working. But once again, 90% of users are probably not going to deal with it. And they're just going to say, well, that game is not for me and it's not going to work on the Steam Deck. So yeah, from time to time, you will have games like that will not work, such as Call of Duty or really any, again, Windows-based game that needs specifically Windows to run or a launcher to run or maybe even like an anti-cheat to run. Epic games as well. There are workarounds to get them to work on the Steam Deck, but it's just going to be more of a headache than it's worth. So if you're looking at getting a Steam Deck, just make sure you're aware that the only games that are going to work on here are going to be Steam-specific video games. If they're labeled as Windows games or Epic games or any other launcher, you're maybe going to be a little bit disappointed. Number 3 is the battery life. And I know this is kind of astounding, even for me to be saying this. A lot of people with the first Steam Deck were very disappointed in the battery life. But I think the reason they were disappointed is because this was the first iteration of a portable gaming PC. And now that there's so many imitators out there, you know, the ROG Ally and the Legion Go, and, you know, now the Switch 2 basically is another one of these kind of handheld gaming systems, PC gaming systems. It's becoming synonymous with battery life not being that good. And I gotta say, the OLED edition of the Steam Deck really amped up the battery life. The original LCD version, I could get maybe 2.5 hours if I was lucky with playing a game like Forza Horizon. For instance, it's a AAA racing title with good graphics. But now with the OLED version, I can easily pump out 3.5 to 4.5 hours sometimes on average with a AAA title, mind you. And that's not even what I normally play. I'm normally playing indie titles or emulating. And if you're doing those kind of things on a Steam Deck, you're going to easily get 6 to 8 to even 10 hours of battery life on one charge, which is insane. That is going to change depending on certain parameters, such as having auto brightness enabled or making sure that it's not too bright when you're out in direct sunlight and stuff like that. So that is going to change your battery life, and of course, depending on the game that you're playing. But for the most part, I have never had an instance so far in over a year with the OLED edition where I felt the battery life was poor. And again, I've tested out other gaming handhelds, PC gaming handhelds at that, where I felt the battery life was pretty lackluster and was a much heavier, bulkier device. So the fact that they didn't have to make the device any bigger, it fits even the same cases and everything as the original LCD edition, is astounding that the battery life is that much better. A lot of that comes with not necessarily having a bigger battery, but just better performing internals, just the better CPU, the better RAM, and of course the OLED display all come together to make battery life a lot more efficient. Number 4, I talked a little bit about this already when we talked about the games, but I'm going to reiterate a little bit more about it in the sense that this actually feels like a legitimate console these days. It doesn't feel like a portable PC, even though it is. I mean, there's still the full-blown desktop mode. You can go and install programs and use it on a monitor like a regular desktop PC, but it is Linux. It does not have Windows built in. Yes, you can side boot Windows onto it if you want. It's not going to be nearly as fluid, and it's probably going to run into some hiccups here and there, but if you like to tinker with stuff like that, you have the ability to do that. But the other thing that I really love about it is just the fact that the actual Steam OS has just had such a massive upgrade over the past year to actually feeling like a legitimate console. It's just wild how easy and fluid it is to go through and actually pick a game now, boot it up, and most of the time it automatically knows what settings to have to run the best and to not have any issues or frame drops and have a good time on the go. Also, a lot of games thankfully still work offline. So if you're in a car, for instance, or on a train, you don't have Wi-Fi or whatever, you still can play most of your games on the go without much of an issue, as long as it's not a multiplayer game, obviously. So that is just really nice, and it really does feel like a portable gaming console. And the reason I'm emphasizing that again is because a lot of people are spreading kind of misinformed lies all over the internet saying this is literally a PC in your hand. It's not a console. There's so much tinkering involved. There's so many things you got to mess around with to get games working. It's like, yeah, 2 years ago that may have been the case, but now it's halfway through 2025 and that is not the case at all. So if you were kind of standoffish on the Steam Deck because of that situation, or you didn't feel like wanting to tinker around with stuff and you want a gaming console, I can assure you this is now the case, and it's awesome. And for my 5th and final point I want to get across in this video, it's going to be kind of a mix of a few things because I didn't feel like naming it like, oh, top 7 would make the most sense. But anyway, number 5 is going to be mods, emulation, 4K dock compatibility, and the fans. Now, let me get the fans out of the way first because that's the fastest thing. It's just, yeah, the fans built into the system are very quiet. The original LCD was a little bit loud, I'm not going to lie, and they did get hot pretty easily. Like, you put your hand up here at the exhaust fan and it would literally burn you. Not the case anymore with the OLED edition. Now, they do get somewhat loud if you're playing a really extensive game for a long period of time, but not to the degree of the original LCD. They're still pretty dang quiet, especially if you're playing anything that's not AAA. I mean, you can't even, it's whisper quiet at that point. So you could play this in a library or on the bus or whatever. You're not going to know anybody, which is really good. And even the heating has never felt like it was going to burn me or that it was overheating in any way, shape, or form with the OLED edition. So that is a huge plus. The 4K docking compatibility also is massive. We have one in our living room. We plug our Steam Deck into it and it boots up on the 4K television, runs beautifully. It upscales great. I don't know if it has any AI technology for upscaling or anything like that, but it doesn't really feel like you're stretching an 800p display into 4K. It literally looks 4K. It's really wild. It's weird technology, but it works great. And yeah, no really issues with that at all. And you can even dock it, of course, to a monitor if you wanted to use this as your main PC. You could pretty much do anything you can set your mind to with this device, as long as you get the accessories, because the dock is not included. You do have to pay $80 separate, but trust me, the dock is 100% worth it. And for the mods and emulation. So this is, of course, going to be for people who want to tinker around and mess with the system. It's not going to be something built in. Emulating is not something you can just boot up the Steam Deck for the first time, go into your Steam library, click a game, and you can emulate it immediately. No, you have to download specific mods. EmuDeck is the #1 I recommend. It is the easiest, most fluid situation I've ever seen from a community mod that makes it so easy to just download, open it up, and you download your ROMs, or you go and find your ROMs from your CD collection. You install them on a computer, put them on a USB drive, and plug them in, install them to your SSD, and then you boot it up and you're good to go. I know it sounds kind of complicated if you don't know how to emulate, but trust me, it is that easy. It's like 5 steps and you're good to go. And games run amazing on the Steam Deck. I was even able to get PS3 games and Xbox 360 games to emulate on here. Granted at like 25 FPS, so it's not the most, best situation, but it works. And the fact that it does work is insane on this small device. It still blows my mind. But yeah, PS2, PS1, N64, Game Boy, you name it. Sega, everything runs amazing as emulating on this device. If you bought this just for emulation, I would not even blame you, because again, it's a gorgeous display, great battery life, and extremely easy to set up for emulation. So yeah, that is easily one of the best selling points for the Steam Deck. I know a lot of people have been making these hoopla, like false accusations on Twitter since the launch of the Switch 2, saying, oh, the only reason people buy Steam Decks is for emulation. Do they even have games on them, or do you just have to illegally download ROMs? It's like, bro, no, that's like 1% of the things you can do on the Steam Deck, but it's one of the best features. So of course, we're going to exclaim it. We're going to be proud of it because it just works that great. So yeah, emulation is definitely one of the biggest key points of the Steam Deck, and why I would any day tell someone to go check it out if you can. And then yeah, the mod support as well is really, really good. Decky, D-E-C-K-Y, is one of the best mods you can download on the Steam Deck. It allows you to do like custom home pages and stuff like that, custom sound profiles. You can even adjust things on the fly. One of my favorite things to do with Decky is having the audio music control. So for instance, when you're in a game, you can click a button and you can open up your Spotify. You can skip songs or wind songs or play and pause while you're playing your games, just like you can on a PC. Super cool. It's not built in, of course, this is a mod, but the fact that this is all free and from the community and it runs as good as it does, and it looks like it fits right into the regular UI, like you couldn't even tell this is a mod. So yeah, the Decky is awesome. And again, the mod support for the Steam Deck is massive. It's ever growing. There's so many people that are super helpful and nice on the Reddit, for instance, and stuff like that. So yeah, community aspect with the mods is amazing. So that's pretty much it. Those are the 5 or so, major points I wanted to get across with the Steam Deck OLED after having it for over a year. And I still love this thing dearly. I play it almost every other day. I log into it, I'll jump into a game, play a couple matches, mess around with it, to try some indie games, emulate games. And even when I don't want to be at my PC, I can just go lay in my bed and play some games through here as well. I didn't even talk anything about being able to cast your games on here too. So if you have a PS5, for instance, or if you have a gaming PC like I do, you can cast those devices onto here with barely any lag whatsoever, as long as you have decent internet. And that is also a really fun experience to try out if you want to try that out. So yeah, the Steam Deck can do so many amazing things with little to really no hassle anymore. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by Steam, by the way, for this video. I'm not being paid to make this video. This is strictly just from a fan of this device, and I will definitely be picking up any new ones they come out with in the future. If you want to see more videos like this or more, I don't know, reviews on consoles and stuff, let me know in the comment section below. Mostly my channel is live streaming, so if you don't know me, my name is Nick. I live stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard on this channel and my Twitch as well. Hope to see you there. We play a lot of retro games on this channel and have a lot of fun. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, share, support as always. Subscribe so I don't miss the next one. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.